It's been months now since we packed up our entire lives, since we changed our phone numbers, since we essentially vanished from our old town. We created a brand new reality, a quiet, peaceful one for our daughter, Maya. And still, every so often, I catch myself. I check the cameras outside the house, I scan the street when we leave, a knot of dread tightening in my stomach. I'm always half expecting to see her. Martha. That lingering fear, it's a constant, exhausting hum beneath the surface of everything. And to think, this all started with a pregnancy. My mother-in-law, Martha, and I? We never clicked. Not ever. I tried, believe me, I tried so hard to be nice, to connect, but she was always just cold. Passive-aggressive comments were her specialty. Things that sounded like compliments on the surface, but always had a hidden jab. She constantly implied I wasn't good enough for Caleb, my husband. Like I didn't deserve him. But what truly hurt was the relentless comparison to her other daughter, Brooke. Brooke was perfect. Always. And I was always the one falling short. Then I found out I was pregnant, just a month before our wedding. Caleb and I were ecstatic. A new chapter. But Martha? Oh, Martha made sure to remind me, every single chance she got, that my pregnancy wasn't perfect like Brooke's. Our timing was all wrong, apparently. Because Brooke had done things in the right order, marriage, then a couple of years, then a well-planned pregnancy. My unexpected joy was, in Martha's eyes, something to be ashamed of. From the moment we told her, her reaction was glacial. A forced smile, a quick congratulations, and then immediately, she launched into a monologue about Brooke's perfect timeline. And it didn't stop there. My entire pregnancy became a living comparison. If I mentioned morning sickness, Martha would declare Brooke powered through without any trouble. If I was tired, Brooke never needed extra rest. Food? My cravings were met with disapproving sighs and comments about Brooke's perfect pregnancy diet, implying I was gaining too much weight. As my belly grew, she'd look at me and say things like, "Some women just get big everywhere," while praising Brooke's beautiful little bump. My maternity clothes, my baby shower, my nursery ideas, even my maternity photos, every single milestone was just another opportunity for Martha to tell me how Brooke had done it better, more elegantly, more perfectly. I felt constantly belittled, constantly inadequate. I had barely started to adjust to life with our newborn daughter, Maya, when everything changed. Literally overnight. Martha, who had spent months making me feel like garbage, suddenly transformed into the most loving, most involved grandmother you could imagine. At first, I was just utterly confused. Then, I found out the heartbreaking news: Brooke had suffered a miscarriage. And suddenly, it all clicked into place. My pregnancy had been second-rate because Martha had Brooke's to put on a pedestal. Now that Brooke's was gone, Martha wanted to latch onto Maya, as if nothing had ever happened. She started buying Maya expensive gifts, calling constantly, offering to help, acting like we'd always had this wonderfully warm relationship. The same woman who'd spent 9 months making me feel small, now wanted to be the doting grandma. I couldn't just forget, you know? Every time she held Maya and beamed down at her, I remembered the dismissive comments, the rolled eyes, the thinly veiled insults about my weight. She never apologized, never acknowledged how she'd made me feel. It was like she'd completely erased the past, rewriting the story to make herself the hero. And it wasn't just that she wanted to be involved, it was the way she felt entitled to it. Dropping by unannounced, picking Maya up without asking, calling herself Maya's favorite grandma. It felt like she was trying to claim a role she hadn't earned, a role she had actively tried to diminish during my entire pregnancy. Then she started talking about Brooke's loss, and it was chilling. She'd sigh dramatically about how heartbroken she was, how unfair it was, but there was always this underlying current. Like Maya was a replacement grandchild. A consolation prize. As if, because Brooke wasn't having a baby, Martha needed to be even more involved with mine. "How lucky we are to have Maya," she'd say, "to bring joy back to the family after such a sad time." Maya wasn't a stand-in. She was my daughter. I started pulling back. Avoiding her calls, making excuses for visits, limiting her alone time with Maya. I just couldn't shake the feeling she was trying to claim Maya as her own. She noticed, of course. She started asking why I wasn't eager to let her be involved, reminding me that a grandmother should see her granddaughter often. Caleb, honestly, didn't fully see it. He was just relieved his mom was finally being warm. He knew she'd been dismissive during my pregnancy, but he wanted to brush it off, thought it was grief. But I couldn't. I couldn't ignore the months of belittlement, and I certainly couldn't accept her sudden demand to be Maya's number one grandmother. The straw that broke everything happened one afternoon. Martha was over, supposedly helping. She took Maya from my arms, and then, completely out of nowhere, she told me that the only way Maya would turn out functional was if Martha moved in with us and raised her herself. I just froze. When I finally asked what she meant, she unleashed a tirade. She criticized me, my appearance, our home, my parenting. Called me a mess, said I was ruining Maya's life just by being her mother. Claimed Maya would grow up broken, neglected, and damaged if I was left alone to raise her. My blood ran cold. Then I heard a voice behind me. Caleb. He'd been home the whole time, and he'd heard everything. I'd never seen him that angry. He stepped forward, told Martha she'd crossed every line, and kicked her out of our house. She didn't just leave quietly. She screamed, she cried, she pounded on our door like a madwoman until we had to call security. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Our phones exploded with calls and texts from Martha, some angry, some weirdly playing the victim. Then came the messages from Caleb's extended family. People we barely knew, suddenly siding with Martha, saying we were cruel, ungrateful, that she was just a grieving grandmother. They made me the villain. It was overwhelming, a relentless tide of guilt-tripping and accusations. Martha didn't stop there. She started showing up. At the grocery store. At the park. Never approaching, just there, watching. It was chilling. We started documenting everything, but a lawyer told us a restraining order would be difficult without a direct threat. Then, one afternoon, she showed up at our door, calm, collected, holding a folder. She handed it to Caleb and walked away. Inside? Legal documents. She had filed for grandparents' rights. She was actually trying to take us to court to get legally mandated visitation with Maya. We lawyered up. We presented our evidence, the texts, the voicemails, the photos of her stalking us, the demand letter. We showed how she'd crossed every boundary, how she'd insulted me, how she saw herself as the only one fit to raise Maya. The judge saw right through her. The restraining order was granted, and her case for visitation was thrown out. Martha didn't take it well. As we left the courthouse, she screamed at us, saying we'd ruined her life. For a while, it was quiet. Then, a social worker knocked on our door. An anonymous report about neglect. It was Martha. The accusations were ridiculous, but we still had to go through the humiliating process of proving we were fit parents. That's when we knew. This wasn't just about Maya anymore. This was about destroying us. So, we moved. Without a trace. Changed our numbers, vanished from social media. A few weeks later, a package arrived at our old address. It was forwarded. Inside? A photo album filled with pictures of Maya. Pictures I hadn't taken. Pictures from our old social media, some from times Martha had visited. We reported it, but there was little they could do. She was obsessed. We're still off social media. No pictures of Maya online, no sharing with extended family who might pass them along. It feels isolating, but it's necessary. Months have passed, and we haven't heard directly from her. But every now and then, I still get that cold feeling that she's out there, watching, waiting. All I know is, we will do whatever it takes to keep Maya safe. Have you ever had to go to such extreme lengths to protect your family from someone who should have loved them?